when will the car chip shortage end? While there had been rumblings of shortages in the world's chip-making business before the pandemic, its remarkable effect considerably aggravated the situation. According to BMW CEO Oliver Zipse, the lack of chips will remain a problem until 2023. Ford CEO Jim Farley also shared the same sentiments. As more nations went into lockdown, forcing customers to stay at home and companies to shut down, automakers canceled chip orders with suppliers to save costs and avoid stockpiling surplus components. As a result, chip manufacturers focused on areas with consistent demand, such as personal electronics. Furthermore, automakers typically prefer slightly older chip-making technologies with proven reliability records. However, with the pandemic forcing chip manufacturers' hands, they opted to focus on newer technologies standard in consumer products like smartphones and gaming consoles, but not typically deployed in vehicles until later in their life cycle. Due to these considerations, the automotive industry and many other industries are currently experiencing a chip shortage. Automakers have been forced to focus on what supply they have available to models that represent a high profit margin, such as SUV and trucks, or older models that utilize more miniature semiconductor goods due to a lack of robust supply of semiconductor products. Tesla and Stellantis, for example, have adjusted their car equipment ranges to allow for the decreased semiconductor supply. In the simplest terms, the chip shortage is due to the fact that there is strong demand but no supply in the market. With automobile sales plummeting in 2020 due to the pandemic, it was hoped that 2021 would see a robust comeback, mitigating the previous year's financial losses. However, despite the high consumer demand wherein the industry's growth rate rose 25.1% in 2021 amounting to $583.5 billion, few manufacturers could construct as many automobiles as they had expected, producing a considerable drag on 2021 sales and dampening the comeback from the previous year. Many people ask, when will automotive chip supply recover? Early reports from 2021 suggested that the shortage would last only a few months until supplies recovered. However, by August, such optimism had faded as it became evident that the semiconductor crisis had no quick end. The impact of the chip shortage on our daily lives. But before we continue, go ahead and click the subscribe and like buttons. It takes a lot to make these videos. Your small actions tell YouTube to keep promoting our videos. Also, tell us in the comment section what you think about the global chip shortage. Thanks. Now back to the video. We rarely considered the importance of semiconductors in our life until the chip shortage made us realize how much we rely on them daily. Chips fueled much of what we use daily, from our laptops and video game consoles to medical gadgets and even our automobiles, from how we work and travel to how we spend our leisure time. Furthermore, as more intelligent gadgets hit the market, more chips are required to power them. As we become more acclimated to this in our technology, the need for them is increasing at an exponential rate. In fact, washing machines and smart toasters are at risk due to the chip shortage. This is because the production of low-margin processors, which are used for everyday appliances, is also experiencing a shortage. The shortage also caused computers to be more expensive nowadays. In fact, Apple CEO Tim Cook admitted that the company would be experiencing trouble producing the next iPad model. In an interview with CNBC, Intel CEO Pat Gelsinger indicated that he modified his earlier assessment of how long the chip shortfall would endure. He initially believed it would endure until 2023. However, he recently stated that the date had drifted towards 2024. Some of those plant ramps will be more problematic, Gelsinger added, citing equipment constraints. Intel has been pouring money into chip-making operations to address the shortage, such as the $20 billion it has promised to invest in new facilities in Ohio. According to Gelsinger, This is part of reducing the United States' reliance on Asian chip manufacturers. Intel will also invest $36 billion in Europe to achieve the same. This tragic news comes just when there were glimmers of hope that the shortage could end. Global chip shortages will lessen in the second half of 2022, according to Counterpoint Research, as demand-supply gaps narrow. In addition, extremely difficult to find video game systems that have been out of supply since 2021 have begun to resurface on store shelves, suggesting hope that the chip issue is lessening. Potential solutions to the shortage problem. According to Jeff Schuster, president of LMC Automotive, there are still some options that the U.S. can do to ensure a reliable supply of chips for the upcoming years. Either foreign companies can increase capacity or the U.S. can produce its own by building its own facilities all over the country. Moreover, Sam Furani, vice president of Auto Forecast Solutions, said that one option could also be forming an automotive industry chip consortium. However, this will introduce major challenges as it will be hard for auto companies to work together. As consumers, you must also learn how to adapt to this ongoing issue. Simple solutions such as taking care of your devices can go a long way. You must learn and use other ways to maintain your gadgets so that you won't have to wait to buy a new one for a long time. You can also buy refurbished goods. In fact, companies like Apple let buyers buy second-hand devices at a low price. Is there a way to predict when this will come to an end? Unfortunately, nobody can say when the chip shortage will end. Some analysts believe that the shortage will finally end in the middle of 2022, however. Others are still saying that manufacturers might have to wait until 2023. And unless there is a sudden drop in demand, the chip shortage is here to stay. This is because inventory may not return to pre-pandemic levels until 2023, according to analysts. Many chip vendors are based overseas, making it difficult for the United States to produce different semiconductors at home. Deloitte, a consultancy firm, stated that many types of chips will still be experiencing shortages throughout the year, with some components even having lead times pushed into 2023. It also added that the shortage might have a similar duration to the 2008-2009 chip shortage. Many industries will still be experiencing the shortage, as numerous analysts say that this will not be resolved for some time. GlobalFoundries, the largest US-based contract chip maker, even said that its chip capacity for its more mature nodes is sold out throughout 2023, even as it plans to boost production capacity by 50% in the same year. While the government is working to make this happen, it will take time. The Commerce Department claimed that median semiconductor chip inventory had dropped to only 5 days' supply, down from 40 days before the pandemic. According to significant semiconductor manufacturers, the situation is unlikely to improve in the next 6 months. Last February 4, the Competes Act of 2022 was passed by the House of Representatives with $52 billion in aid for semiconductor manufacturing and research, and $45 billion to aid with supply chain issues. Before being signed into law, the Senate must pass the bill. Some companies have taken advantage of the situation to make significant adjustments. Ford, for example, is restricting the number of car variants that dealers may offer by up to 80%, which may encourage more people to submit orders. Honda wants to decrease expenses and enhance dealer earnings by normalizing lower inventory levels. The automotive industry is one of the industries that have been affected by the chip shortage. Infineon CEO Reinhard Ploss said, "Supply limitations are far from over and will persist well into 2022. So, while it may be a bit unfortunate that you will still have to wait to get a new car or a new gadget for the next 6 months or so, it's worth keeping in mind that we don't have the worst of it. What the rest of the world can do now is to wait or take what they can get in the meantime."